President Muhammadu Buhari was on a working visit to Imo State last Thursday, during which he inaugurated some projects and met with stakeholders in the southeast. The presidential visit came against the backdrop of tensions in the southeast generated by the secessionist agitation in the geopolitical zone being championed by the outlawed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, whose leader Nnamdi Kanu is facing sundry charges, including for treason, treasonable felony, terrorism, and illegal possession of firearms. And for more on the presidential visit, we are now being joined by Jerry Chukwueke, a former vice presidential candidate of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, and spokesperson for Imo Economic Development Initiative, EIDI. Welcome to the program.
Well, thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Let's start with the trip, of the president to Imo State. Can you tell us in your own words what the essence of that trip was?
Yes, indeed. And I paint you a picture of what transpired. First, it was an opportunity for a reset of relations between the presidency and Igbo. It was a rapprochement, very clearly so. Mr. President came to Imo in high spirits. He, quite frankly, enjoyed himself. He did say so, that he was most surprised about the opportunity to meet with the best of Igbo land who had gathered from across the country. And you can name them. Some of his former colleagues, General Ikenwa Chukwu, the General Ihejire Kadem, General Mahi, General Bonna, so many of Ebuti Kiwe, former vice president, key traditional rulers, the Obi of our nature, and so on. And then key stakeholders, the Pascal Doziers and the Professor Anya Oanyas, and Chief Iwanyawos, all the strong Igbo leaders of Nigeria came to receive Mr. President. It was a sight to behold. And you know what? We watched it, and I'm sitting across some 15 feet or so from Mr. President. And I believed when he made his comments that he felt so strongly, bearing in mind that the Igbos were the drivers of the Nigerian economy, and we are, that one of the key things to support the Igbo project was his emphasis on infrastructure development, bringing back security to Nigeria, as well as fighting corruption. Because he says his legacy now must be that people have the opportunity to deploy the best of their abilities to succeed in the project Nigeria. That's what the Igbos want. But having said that, let me also not only thank Mr. President for coming on that opportunity, but the governor of Imo State, who was bold with great sagacity to put this together. In addition to that, and of course his brother governors like Governor Mahi and those who worked with him and supported him. But in addition to that, our great son, Professor George Obiozo, who is the President General of Ohanese, with his great deployment of his network and reach across Nigeria to bring all the key Igbos together. And you know what? The message was also clear to Mr. President, that Igbos, being the most vested in the Nigerian project, in all the nooks and crannies of Nigeria, want to go nowhere. Because we are the most vested, so long as we're treated with equity, fairness, and justice. And in addition to that, President General Ohanese Ndigbo, Professor George Obiozo, had asked Mr. President that Ndigbo want all the young men and women of Igbo land who are in different detention centers since the ESN and iPod issue to be released. My observation further, and this is my view, I watched Mr. President, even when Professor George Obiozo and Igbo made a request that we were not interested in ambushing him on this visit, but that a select group of Igbo will come to the villa to further engage with him on how we must find our rightful place. And he nodded. I watched that. The body language was clear. But you know what? We do know that there are some political actors in Nigeria who want to continue to demarcate the Igbos and the Southeast as a no-go area for sensitive political appointments and political leadership, they will fail because our people are the most vested. Our people are serious-minded people in this project, and we will remain in this project and drive it so long as we're treated with fairness, equity, and justice.
And still talking about,
and that's clear.
Very good. Still talking about the people. Now, there was widespread stay-at-home compliance from IPOB by residents in Imo when the president visited. How significant is this? Don't you think this is an affront on constitutionally elected governors in the first place, and especially from an outlawed organization?
Well, let's slow the conversation down in that regard a bit. Because, look, I just came in from Imo. The fact of the matter is that even IPOD is saying they are not behind the sit-at-home Monday issues. They're saying so. People who stayed back, and some of them have been staying at home on Mondays, are largely doing that out of fear. But look, from an economic standpoint, and that is where the Imo Economic Development Initiative is concerned, and I'm sure across the Southeast, the respective chambers of commerce in the Southeast tell us that their data shows that the sit-at-home on Mondays is costing the Southeast some 8 billion naira per week. That is incredible. When you add that to the fact that we are a home, the home of investors, and the home of Nigerians in the diaspora in remittances to Nigeria. I engaged with the Minister of Labor and Productivity a few weeks ago, and we were discussing the data as to what's going on. That is actually close to $30 billion every year, despite COVID, that is coming in direct remittances from Nigerians in the diaspora. And Igbos are over 70% of that money. And that's why we're building homes and hospitals and roads and private businesses in Imo State, paying school fees and healthcare. So Mr. President's visit was a vote of confidence to say, look, peace and quiet has returned to Imo. Let's resume the business that we do and bring back the dividends for our people. It's not about Governor Hope Uzodinma, for example, in Imo. It's not about President Buhari. It's about the people of the Southeast and our welfare and well-being. We can't have our home as a theater of war. We can't take from ourselves. What we must do is put aside any political differences and focus on the common good. And that is what's good for the people of the Southeast. So we are very excited about this reset. And if my feelings are right, I think Mr. President did absorb a lot. And you're probably going to see a lot more pivoting in the direction that the Igbos have been talking about. And I'm very happy about that.
Well, I'm glad that you bring in, people of the Southeast, because I wanted to ask you regarding his visit. Do you think that it would actually change anything in the geopolitical space, especially the Southeast, and in terms of well-being and welfare that you mentioned earlier?
Yes, without a doubt. And that's why we, looking at the economy as well, feel very excited. It was a vote of confidence. And you know what? All those who, like I said earlier, are demarketing the Southeast and Igbos now have something to really think about. Because not only was it a vote of confidence, it was reassuring for investors. What Imo and the Southeast do well is to attract investment, particularly from the diaspora, particularly from businesses in Nigeria. We have the largest gas reserves in Nigeria out of Imo and Anambra basins, for example. And the world is moving in the direction of clean energy. The huge opportunities. Look at Owerri, for example, again. A home of hospitality, pleasure, and leisure, with over 110 registered hotels and numerous quality restaurants that are now being run in 50 to 60% capacity. So that's good for us that he came.
Very good.
So we can restore confidence.
Chukwueke, we're going to come back to that discussion shortly, but we have to go on a break. You're still watching Imo State. We'll be right back after this break. Stay with us. It's good to have you back on Newsday, and we've still got Mr. Jerry Chukwueke, spokesperson, Imo Economic Development Initiative. He will be, well, he's been talking about the president's visit to the region. And now, beyond the commissioning of a few projects in Imo State, from a socio-economic point of view, how beneficial is the president's visit to Imo State, you think?
Well, clearly, again, I think the key takeaway is the reset that I've been talking about. I think we've leveled with each other now. That process is on. And you know, one of the things that we are very concerned about, and hopefully this will bring this further to light, is the fact that when you look at many of the programs of this federal government with regards to low-hanging fruits to empower the people of Nigeria, whether it's COVID funds intervention by the CBN, or the Bank of Agriculture, or the Bank of Industry, even funds from the World Bank and so on, when you look at who the beneficiaries are, you will find that what's happened in the Southeast recently with the IPOP and ASN thing, it's been a distraction. Our people have not applied, did not get involved in absolutely taking advantage of the low-hanging fruits. When you look at the beneficiaries, the Southeast people, they have no future. It's all different parts, geographical zones of Nigeria, because we've been distracted. The point I'm making is, we have a great opportunity now to take a deep breath and say, you know what? We're not going anywhere. What we want is fairness, equity, justice. And clearly, now even the president confirms that he understands that we're the key drivers of the Nigerian economy. The most vested, the most risk takers. Nobody's more Nigerian than the Igbo man. And if that's the case, and is now clearly understood, I think our conversations can improve. So we're optimistic that we're on the right track with this visit. And it will be better for our people. We understand the issues, a lot of perception, a lot of reality about what Igbos have missed out on.
Very good.
But as a reset.
But is that comment resonating with the rest of the region, not just Imo State, you think?
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's the Southeast. Who came to receive Mr. President? It wasn't Imo. It was select, strong, despite the COVID restrictions in terms of numbers, from across Igbo land, including Igbo-speaking areas of Nigeria. This is the Igbos as a group under the auspices of Ohaneze and Igbo worldwide, and the key stakeholders spoke, and they were very clear. What we want is to be treated with fairness, equity, and justice. And by the way, it's only reasonable, because we can do what we need to do to continue to help grow this Nigerian project. It's proven that we're the key drivers. So let's be treated with respect. I think Mr. President absorbed the message. There'll be more discussions from what I understand, but we're on the right track. We thank him. By the way, Mr. President came to Imo and did not even come with any of his top aides in the presidency. He was at home. He felt at home. I thought that was remarkable. And when you compare that to all the perceptions out there, you can now see that social media, and it's a great thing, and those who are social media warriors and paint a picture that appears to be adversarial. I think we all need to take a deep breath. Focus on the issues. Let's have the opportunity like others do. Let's focus on what we do best. And let's grow the Nigerian project, because we benefit. And when Mr. President talks about his focus on infrastructure as key, his focus on security as key, his focus on fighting corruption, those help our people, because that gives us the level playing field, and that's where we compete favorably. And so I think we're on the right track.
Okay, that's good. But how does this visit, affect the Igbo quest for 2023? Did that come into play during your conversations with the key stakeholders?
Well, the issue of 2023 and political leadership lies with the political parties. That will come. There's a story out there. Those who continue to demarcate our people run the story that Igbos are not together, that we don't speak with one voice, and that it's all commerce game. Not true. What transpired a few days ago also did prove them wrong. That we can come together and say, this is our position. So with regards to 2023, I think we have a little bit more time. There are many qualified Igbo people for the presidency. There's no doubt about it. But I think right now, everybody, Nigerians, the presidency, our people in Igbo land, all across Nigeria, and all Nigerians, please take a deep breath and appreciate the fact that Igbos are doing the business of the Nigerian project at great risks and just want to be treated with fairness, equity, and justice.
Very good. Now, there were initial apprehensions towards the president's visit, but looking back now, do you think they were justified?
No, but you can see the point I made, Mr. President even knew coming in. Otherwise, why didn't he marshal out his all the strong, sensitive security people and be cordoned off in a manner that shows he was going into a war zone? No such thing. This is really being overplayed. And that's why I think that Mr. President, spending that roughly 2 hours with us and listening carefully, and by the way, when Mr. President delivered his remarks, he was unscripted. And Nigerians should know that a lot of what we hear about he has to be, doctored and all those, you take a deep breath and see if those things are really true. He was crisp, he was clear, he was funny, but he was serious. We did serious business in Owerri, and that's a good thing for Nigeria.
So how do you follow up with what you were expecting from the president and what he has delivered in terms of his oration, as it were?
Okay, so we got some roughly 2 years to go in this administration. Like I did indicate earlier, one of the important requests of Igbo and the key stakeholders is that we have a follow-up meeting at the presidency. Like I said earlier, Mr. President's body language was in the affirmative. That was my read of it. And I think that's going to happen. It'll be a select group, I'm sure, is being worked on. And we shall now take the conversation further.
Here, yes. Because you keep talking about his body language, body language. You know, it's one thing to actually have body language, and it's one thing for him to actually follow through.
Yes.
So how do you merge the two?
But this is a point we're making, to say that we are holding on to our position, that we must be treated with respect, with equity, fairness, and justice. That's the check and balance. Remember, that's the point. So if you bear that in mind, then you can now say, okay, this is a reset. Let's move forward. And going forward, let's see if this body language turns out to be what it was. But we are taking it from a viewpoint of, you know where we stand, we welcome you, we want to work with you, thank you for coming, thank you for recognizing the fact that we're the key drivers of this economy. You say the key things you're doing will benefit us, we appreciate that, we understand that, but just bear in mind, take a deep breath, Mr. President. If there are any things that you have done in the past that would not have been considered when you now have a proper reflection. And I think Mr. President absorbed a lot of that. I am optimistic that we're going into a new chapter. We'll see. The jury's out, but we'll see.
We'll see, indeed.
All right. Now, earlier, Ohaneze says they are not against the president's visit to Igbo land, but IPOB still holds different views regarding its status in Nigeria. But how significant is this divergence of views from two main pan-Igbo, organizations?
Well, I don't agree with the characterization of two major divergent views. Let me say this. If you ask, I would dare say, most Igbo key stakeholders, who IPOB is, you will find that it's probably difficult to even figure out who really is who.
But they still have a large following.
Yeah, but guess what? That is perception. I am saying to you that what transpired a few days ago was clear that the Igbo community, in all of its strength, in all of its capacity, wants to work with the Nigerian project. And remember, even IPOP, and part of the issue all along was that the Igbos were not being treated with fairness, equity, and justice. Remember, that's been the cardinal point for them. Because you can't resolve anything by violence or militarization. We know that ultimately the solution must come with mutually accepted negotiations and positions to find a common ground. I think we'll get there. I'm not sure that we're looking at Ohaneze and Igbo and Igbo stakeholders on the one hand and IPOP on the other. I respect that, but that's not quite where we are. The fear factor is there, by the way. When we talk about this sit at home and say, well, people didn't come out, is it because really you think they believe in IPOP or they're afraid? You have to make that call. So the point I'm making is, even IPOP, the position is, treat Igbos with respect, justice, and fair play. Let's get on with the business. Because secession on its own cannot stand on nothing.
All right.
That's the point, isn't it?
If I may prick your interest in the ongoing debate over the value-added tax, VAT, states against the federal.
I just have one more question on the visit before we.
That's fine.
And then you can.
That's fine.
Because this is more about the president's visit. I wanted to sort of quickly ask, because there are a few people that have been downplaying his visit to Imo State. So how do you react to those people downplaying? And then also, how do you react to people saying that you are not really the drivers of the Nigerian economy? How do you react to that?
Well,
let's start with the president, and then you can go on to that, because I noticed that you're about to react to...
Well, so I'll give you the reaction. First, those who are downplaying the significance of Mr. President's visit, I ask him, how many places has Mr. President visited lately with regards to this sort of situation? That's one. Because the issue is not about Mr. President. The issue is not about Governor Hope Uzodimma. The issue is the people of the Southeast and Igbos in Nigeria. That's what we're pursuing. So those who politicize this matter and think that to downplay or to be unnecessarily abrasive in a social media or whatever means to castigate, just like I always said, we understand these things, but take a deep breath, because that doesn't really resolve the issue. The issue is, how do we get our people in a better place? And that remains our focus. And like I keep saying, I respond to the second part of the question as to whether or not we're really the drivers of the Nigerian economy. I got news for you. All you have to do is just go from all the remotest villages, the remotest corners of this country, down to the riverine areas. You will find that the Igbos are the business people, that the merchants, that the logistics people, they make the economy work. That is not in dispute.
All right, noted. And on that note, we'll take my own question later on the taxation beyond the studio. We've had Jerry Chukwueke. He is a businessman and, of course, a spokesperson, Imo Economic Development Initiative. Thank you for coming to the program.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. Thank you, everybody.